You got to think about the leaders of tomorrow. They've got to be more focused. They've got to have more empathy for other human beings. They've got to be more creative, more innovative. The less you sleep, you start to lose that. You start to lose the cognitive ability to do these things.
So now we're all wondering what happened with you? What put you in that bed where you can only move one of your hands and manage the business from there?
Yeah, so it was, unfortunately, I was just turned 29. My son was 18 months old. My wife was 6 months pregnant. I was in good health, good shape. I'd never been in hospital in my life. And all of a sudden, over the course of 5 days, my immune system attacked the connective tissue in my joints. And all of a sudden, my knees were the size of footballs, my wrist was locked in place, and my shoulder was up by my ear. And there was massive inflammation in my joints. And this happened so quickly. So over 5 days, I went from fully independent, fully mobile, doing whatever I wanted when I wanted, to being trapped in a hospital bed and stuck. And the initial shock of that, it was like, whoa, I can't even process because it's happened so quickly. And initially, I felt that despair and that frustration because my son was looking at me with his big eyes. He was only 18 months old, looking at me like, Daddy, why can't you play? And just seeing my wife coming after work, helping me shower, helping me do basic things. Again, I really struggled with that initially. All of a sudden, my physicality, my mobility, I'm young, I'm active. Like, what's going to happen? But all of a sudden, you get a lot of time to reflect again when you can't move. And in the second week, I was looking out from the hospital. They moved me higher up onto a longer term ward, looking out over the fields towards the village where I grew up as a child. And I looked across those fields and realized that I'd walked across those lots of times, but I'd never been grateful for walking until I lost it. And then it kind of dawned on me that I wasn't grateful to all the people in my life who were now helping me. And even more so, I grew up in the UK. You know, I've had free education, free healthcare. There's never been conflict here, no war, no environmental disaster, no famine. I've had freedom to set up a business, work in different industries, opportunities around every corner. Why should I be ungrateful? And I just decided I'm going to be proactive with my own health outcomes. I'm going to attack this disease as much as it's attacked me. I'm going to take ownership over my recovery. I'm going to do everything I can to get back on my feet. And it took me 11 months to walk again properly. But those 11 months were a real challenge for me to step into, a chance for me to really define that there was no boundaries and limits, only the ones that I would put on myself. And that kind of really allowed me to see that, well, if I can do this, then I can help other people. I can empower them to step through and hopefully to start to think about these things before something as serious happens to them as it has to me.
So, what's the cause behind that? Why did it happen? Was it a miracle instance where your immune system suddenly just turned rogue, or is there something that triggered it?
Yeah, they've tried and tested quite a lot, but what it seems is my immune system has almost become uncoded. So it's attacked a particular type of tissue in my joints. Effectively, it thinks it's foreign. So it's almost like rejecting it. And it attacked me over and over again. And it's particularly painful. But amazingly, I've been through a journey where initially I was on significant medication to control it that dampened my immune system so it didn't attack myself. But I've spent the last 5 years really working on my lifestyle, my nutrition, my sleep, my movement, my mindset, my kind of like resilient pain management. And again, in June, I actually come off that medication after 5 years of testing, experimenting, iterating with every aspect of my life, everything I consume, every action that I take, measured, tracked to find what energizes me, what can I tolerate, what drains me, what sets my inflammation off. And all of a sudden, you get amazing acuity to listen to your body and find what actually works when you spend every day tracking it and listening. And I suppose, again, that is something that I was given the time and the energy to do by having my own company. If I was working a typical 9 to 5 job, I wouldn't have the time and the energy to go and do that and explore myself. And all of a sudden, and now I'm able to hear if I'm feeling not particularly well, if I've had a bad night's sleep. I actually feel it rather than presume it. Suddenly I'll listen to myself and you can hear a lot clearer. But that takes practice. It wasn't like that at the start. But after years and years of doing this, now I actually feel like I can feel when things are getting a little bit bad and take steps to try and challenge that. So yeah, I've been off my medication for 2 months now and I'm doing well. And that's amazing because that medication is cytotoxic, kills cells, your immune cells, so you don't attack yourself. And obviously, in the times that we're currently in, it's really not pleasant and not good medication to be taking.
And yeah, it sounds like it's not a good medication. And for 5 years too, wow, that's a long time. Congratulations, by the way. I just want to celebrate with you. That is a big deal. Now,
Oh yeah, I mean it was a big thing. It's a big thing for me, and that was like another big goal. After learning to walk again and getting back on my feet, it was like, right, what next? Because I want to try and get close to my potential.
and you mentioned earlier about sleep, and the entire world actually lacks sleep. I'm a guy who tries my best, and usually, thank God, I'm an entrepreneur. I get 8 hours of sleep. There are extremely rare days when I don't, but those are super rare. Unfortunately, the rest of the world is not the same. They don't have the same luxury of having 8 hours of sleep, and I'm wondering, since this podcast, our main listeners are entrepreneurs, leaders, and managers, how often do you get asked as a coach about sleep, how to optimize sleep by these kinds of people, entrepreneurs, leaders, managers?
Yeah, so I mean, it wasn't that long ago, Sean, that the question was, how can I sleep less and how can I get more done? The truth is, sleep can be optimized, but it's such a young science. We've only started really looking at sleep since the 1940s. That's 80 years. That's nothing in terms of the fact that, the ancient Greeks and Romans were exploring all sorts of scientific projects, 2,000 years ago. So we're at such an early stage. And yeah, when we were born, that kind of 80s generation, they were like, oh, you're a leader, you must sleep for 4 hours. You must be awake all the time. You must be proud that you don't sleep. And yeah, the science is starting to actually show that sleep massively impacts performance, it impacts interaction, it impacts your hormonal and emotional regulation. And actually, the massive and most important thing it does is it affects your attention, your concentration, and your focus. And when you're in a position where you lead people, you lead organizations, you lead businesses, you need to be able to control that attention and focus because you are guiding, you are effectively driving the train. And you don't want to be falling asleep when you're driving a train riding at 300 miles an hour. So it's that kind of understanding that actually people are starting to ask, how can I optimize my sleep? How much do I need? How can I make it better? How can I start to really look and understand my sleep a bit more? And it's becoming more and more of a question that's being asked. And really, I try and keep it simple because everyone has their own circadian rhythm. So you can't just say you get 8 hours, you go to bed at 10 o'clock, because it's not the same for everyone. People need to try and sink in. Again, some people can perform just as well on 7. There's a rare genetic mutation out there that means that 0.2% of people can act and perform at a really, really high level on 5 hours sleep. There's not many of them about, and it's unlikely to be you or me. And quite often, the people who do, they're almost of this opinion that, yeah, that's me, that's me. What they don't realize is they've got so used to performing on 5 hours sleep that actually they think they're performing at an optimal level. When what they're actually doing is they're tired every day. And if they actually slept properly, they'd unlock a whole other area of, potential productivity, performance. that they're not accessing. But again, if you look at the world, for the light bulb, we were sleeping 10 hours a night. And then all of a sudden, the TV come along, it's down to 8 hours. Now, across the world, adult population, we're down to 6.7 hours. That's ridiculous. It wasn't that long ago, Sean, that if we were rolling around in the middle of the night, we'd get eaten. We were prey. And all of a sudden now we've invented these waveforms of light that are great. They allow us to do things that in times before when we couldn't. What they're actually doing is keeping us up. Television's invented. All of a sudden you'll watch that instead of going to bed. Now smartphones are everywhere, ubiquitous. And people are there shining photon beams into their eyes before they go to sleep. And it's like they wonder why they're struggling. And it's like these things are designed to modify behavior. They're very, very cleverly designed. We all know that behind every screen you're looking at, there's 1,000 ambitious, talented engineers just trying to get it to work more effectively and exploit the fact that we've not changed. We are still that human being, psychologically, physiologically, that we were all those years ago when we were sleeping 10 hours. We haven't changed. We've not evolved. All of a sudden, we've chopped off a third of our sleep and wonder why some of the issues around that emotional regulation. It causes conflict. It causes people to swing wildly. Hormonal regulation causes people to eat poorly. It causes people to be less empathetic and compassionate about others. You've got to think about the leaders of tomorrow. They've got to be more focused. They've got to have more empathy for other human beings. They've got to be more creative, more innovative. The less you sleep, you start to lose that. You start to lose the cognitive ability to do these things. And really, sleep is so important. In fact, I actually tell people it's the cornerstone of health and performance. It's the fundamental. It's the first thing you should really look at. Because if you're not sleeping well, if you're struggling to sleep, you're going to struggle to eat well. You're going to struggle to move enough. You're going to struggle to concentrate and have that attention where you want it. And your hormones are going to be against you because sleeping affects every single biological process in your body. And truth be told, it's where you grow, both mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Because like anything, it's the rest and recovery that are absolutely vital. You go to the gym, you stress your muscles out, you rest, they grow. It's exactly the same with sleep. And without adequate sleep, you are never going to be able to perform at that level you want to.
Now I'm wondering, what's your sleep routine like? Because you have experienced your body shutting down on you, going rogue, and the value that you must be putting on your sleep and in your well-being right now is supernatural. Because what happened to you is supernatural. It doesn't happen to just about everyone. So I'm wondering, how does your sleep routine look like? Because we want to learn from you.
Yeah, so my sleep routine, if anything, your sleep routine starts with your morning routine. So I wake up in the morning and I have an hour to myself to reflect. So I'll do a bit of meditation or maybe prayer or silence, depending on how I'm feeling. And then I'll listen to 10 minutes of a positive podcast. I think this one, absolutely perfect, Sean. Split it into 10-minute sections over a week, and bang, you'll get little insights every single day, something you can take and apply on your entrepreneurial journey. And today, a little bit of your health journey too. And then I do 10 minutes reading. I then do 10 minutes exercise. So I'll either walk around the block, get some sunlight in my eyes, or just do some body weight movements or a bit of yoga. And then I will journal and get my mind onto paper, clarify my goals for the day, think about some things I'm grateful for, or some things I could have improved the previous day. And that really fuels me. It puts me in a really positive state to then go into that day. What that actually does is that meditation, that process of reflection, I started to get really good at switching off and anchoring on my breath or anchoring on a mantra or just anchoring on the world around me. And that switching off is really important because that helps you switch off at night as well. So I then work in blocks throughout the day. And my sleep routine is I have my last caffeinated drink. So I probably drink one coffee a day. That's it. And I always have it before 2 o'clock because caffeine has a half-life of 8 hours. It affects you by ultimately caffeine goes into your adenosine receptors in your brain and effectively tricks your brain to think that you're not as tired as you are. Obviously, at some point, you then have to pay that back. but it does enhance your performance cognitively during that initial period, as long as you don't overuse it. With that, I have a digital sunset. So again, running a business, stuff's going on everywhere all the time. But in the evening, there becomes a point, 9 o'clock, where I put all my devices, everything work related, on my desk, nice and tidy for the next day, and just remove myself. I speak to my wife. I go and have a cuddle with my children, and I just remove myself from that digital stimulation, because we have so many inputs across a day, thousands and thousands of things are fired at us. And again, if we kind of go back to what we evolved as only a few hundred years ago, you barely had any inputs. Now we have more inputs in a day than they had in a whole lifetime. It's
Right.
crazy when you think about it. But yeah, all of a sudden, like for me, I've built in these things so I don't exercise too close to bedtime, because it raises your core body temperature. And going to sleep, your core body temperature actually drops as you drop into that first cycle of sleep. I obviously don't smoke, so that's good, because that is a stimulant and that keeps people awake. I don't drink alcohol near bedtime. I don't drink much anyway. What it does is it disrupts your sleep cycles. So while some people think it helps them get to sleep, it actually reduces sleep quality. So if you're going to do that, keep it, to 3 to 4 hours before bed and earlier, not right up close to bedtime. And then it's just utilizing that routine to switch off and just remove anything that's going to distract you. So my bedroom, it's dark, it's cool, it's mellow. There's nothing in there that reminds me of work or of things that feel stressful. And I always say to my clients, your bedroom should be for sleep and sex and maybe storing a few clothes. Because really, all of a sudden, we've got all this technology in our bedroom. Why? This is a room that needs to be serene. You need to be at peace here. You need to be able to sleep here effectively. And again, it's like a kind of routine. I've just got these curfews in place for things like blue light, for the digital sunset, for caffeine, for alcohol, for big meals. Again, we use so much energy for digestion. You want that energy cleaning your brain at bedtime, not working on digesting a big meal. So again, I say, have your last big meal, 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the benefits of when we sleep. Our spinal fluid gets pushed up through our spine and cleans our brains out. It's called the glymphatic flush. It doesn't happen if you've got a lot of energy expenditure elsewhere, because it's incredibly energy intensive. So if we've not got any digestion going on, we've actually got the energy to clean the tau, the proteins, the waste products out of our brains. And we've only just come to realize this as we've looked at fMRIs and all of a sudden seeing people's brains, expanding and then decreasing in sleep, and wondering what's going on there. And that just shows we're in such a young science, and there's 10 studies out every week around sleep, and just looking and understanding and try and keep up to date with all these things. And it's a roller coaster. But yeah, it's just understanding that so many things affect sleep. Just start to do them further into the day. And again, I'm not going to tell people, don't do this. And some people got to the point where they can't sleep unless the television's on in the bedroom. And I'm not about to say get it out, because they've got used to that. But it's about trying to look at what works for you and really trying to optimize all the things that you can, and realizing that actually sleep is just so important. It's well worth the time investment to get your lab coat on and treat it as an experiment.
I have my own sleep routine. So I got the coffee right, just 1 cup a day before 2 p.m. I did not get the digital detox right, because I'm still on my computer screen up until 10-11 p.m. So yeah, I have to change that one. Alcohol, I haven't been drinking for quite some time now, but well noted on the 3 to 4 hours before sleeping. That's very interesting. Also, I haven't been eating big meals. I don't know, like I was huge before the lockdown and before I started just losing. So since 2018 of December, I've lost 30 pounds already. Yeah, change of lifestyle. I ditched breakfast. So I didn't ditch it altogether. I did IF for a while, and then I took my blood test. It wasn't good. So what I did was I changed my breakfast. Every morning I would take 2 cloves of garlic, just mince them and then chug it down with water, swallow it. After that, I take probiotics. That would be kimchi or yogurt. And then I take my vegetable juice. That's carrots, moringa, ginger. It's a mix of stuff and it's slimy. My wife hates it, but that's my breakfast every day. Every day, dude. That's what I do. And lunch and dinner, I eat pretty much anything, but my breakfast is always that healthy routine. And I said to myself, I'm gonna, we eat 3 times a day, and if I'm gonna be sacrificing something, it's the first thing I'm putting into my body. And so I chose breakfast, and my blood results have been amazing in just a few months because of that routine. So I just wanted to share that here for those of you listening. It is super important for you, the entrepreneur, the leader, to take care of yourself, because if you're down, people are just not gonna know what to do.